is Valley News Live at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just one day after a Minnesota police officer resigned for shooting a 20-year-old man at a traffic stop, she's now been charged with second-degree manslaughter. Chris Martinez has our top story.
A Minnesota prosecutor is charging former police officer Kim Potter with second-degree manslaughter in the shooting death of 20-year-old Dante Wright. Officer Potter was a 26-year veteran of the police force. Along with Police Chief Tim Gannon, Potter offered her resignation Tuesday, saying in a letter she believes it is in the best interest of the community, the department, and my fellow officers if I resign immediately.
We don't think it's fair that she can kill him and say, I made a mistake, and then resign and keep all her benefits, all her pensions.
Police say Dante Wright had been pulled over for an expired vehicle tag. They say officers tried to arrest him when they learned of an outstanding warrant and that he resisted. Police say Officer Kim Potter, who had been training a new officer, thought she reached for her taser. But she fired a gun instead. The second-degree manslaughter charge carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison. Chris Martinez, CBS News.
More than 60 people have been arrested following a third night of protesters clashing with police in Brooklyn Center. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi joined fellow Democrats today in honoring gun violence victims at a new memorial at the National Mall. 40,000 flowers have been installed, representing the number of Americans who have died from gun violence each year. The unveiling of the gun violence memorial comes after several mass shootings in the past few weeks. Here's Summer with a first look at your forecast. Summer?
Good afternoon, Stacy. Things have been gray and gloomy still so far for our Wednesday. Here's a live look at our Grand Forks Home of Economy Skycam. You can still see a little bit of snow on the ground. Those skies are gray and overcast. But let's take a quick look at some snowfall reports over the last few days across the region. 6.5 inches in Walhalla, North Dakota. Hallock picking up a half a foot right at 6 inches. 5.6 in Greenbush, Minnesota. Pembina picking up 5. Warroad 4 inches. 3 inches in Thief River and Langdon. Grand Forks picked up 2.7 and 2 inches in South Fargo. But even more important than how much snow we got was how much moisture we got within the rain, the mix, and the snow. So once you melt everything down, we measured 0.86 inches in Walhalla and in Bemidji, right around a half an inch in Lake Bronson and Goodridge. National Weather Service office in Grand Forks picked up 0.21 inches of moisture, as did the airport here in Fargo. We are really clearing out so far this evening. There are a few lingering flurries. And Stacy, we'll take a look at that hour-by-hour forecast and a chilly night ahead coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Summer, thanks so much. If you live on the Minnesota side of the valley, starting tomorrow afternoon, you may hear tornado sirens. It's part of a statewide test. The first test will happen at 1:45 in the afternoon. Schools and businesses are also encouraged to conduct a tornado drill at that time. A second drill will happen tomorrow night at 6:45. 4 men are now convicted after a months-long investigation into the poaching of whitetail bucks in Barnes County. Those men are Jacob Ashline and Payne Drake, both of Valley City, and Calvin Bjornson and Ryan Rudolph, both of Spiritwood. The convictions included several misdemeanors, fines, and loss of hunting and fishing privileges. The Game and Fish Department says the men were charged with what officials could prove, which is about 10 bucks. The investigation started in 2019 when officials found deers with their antlers removed, but no meat was taken. Wardens thanked the public for reporting the suspicious activities that led to the investigations. The trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin continues today. Chauvin's defense attorneys are working to counter dozens of prosecution witnesses who blame him for the death of George Floyd. Jamie Yukas is following the trial in Minneapolis.
Any resistor, handcuffed or not, should go to the ground into a prone control position.
The defense's use of force expert Barry Broad said Chauvin was justified when he handcuffed George Floyd face down on the pavement.
Police officers don't have to fight fair. They're allowed to overcome your resistance by going up a level.
The prosecution questioned Broad's judgment on cross-examination.
What part of this is not compliant?
So I see his arm position in the picture that's posted. Right. That, you know, a compliant person would have both their hands in the small of their back and just be resting comfortably, versus like he's still moving around.
Did you say resting comfortably?
I think he came off terribly.
Minnesota criminal defense attorney Joe Tamburino, who is not affiliated with the case, said Broad's testimony lacked empathy.
He said that the police don't have to fight fair. Actually, they do. The jury wants to see people on the stand who realize the gravity of the situation, regardless of whether they find that the use of force was reasonable or unreasonable.
Trying to show that Floyd was susceptible to stress and drugs, the defense brought out body cam video of a 2019 traffic stop in which Floyd was arrested. The now retired police officer and a retired paramedic seen on this video testified Floyd's blood pressure was high, and he admitted to taking opioids that day.
When we were in the car for the first 8 minutes, we were talking.
The defense also called Shawanda Hill to testify. She was in the SUV with Floyd the day he died and spoke about his physical state when police arrived.
He instantly grabbed the wheel, and he was like, please, please don't kill me. Please, please don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. What did I do? Just tell me what I did, please.
In total, the defense called 6 witnesses, with the majority spending less than 30 minutes on the stand. Despite that whirlwind, jurors were seen taking lots of notes. Medical experts are up next with still no word on whether or not Chauvin will testify. Jamie Yucca, CBS News, Minneapolis.
The judge turned down a defense request to acquit Chauvin earlier today. The defense hasn't said whether Chauvin will take the stand. A federal advisory committee is now holding an emergency meeting to decide the next steps for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. This comes after at least 6 reports of blood clots in the more than 7 million doses administered. The CDC Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices is voting this afternoon on whether the vaccine should continue to be used in the U.S.
While causality has not been fully established between these very rare events and the vaccine, we recognize these events could represent an important potential risk with the Janssen vaccine.
Following the vote, the CDC and the FDA are expected to make a final recommendation to states, though it was not mandated. All 50 states did pause use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after yesterday's recommendation by the FDA and the CDC. Health officials in Clay County are reporting the highest amount of COVID cases they've seen since October. Clay County Public Health says they plan to administer 1,000 vaccines this week. They say they're continuing to educate the public so they can get vaccinated as they continue to receive more doses.
The nice thing, too, is with a higher number of doses available to us, we have the ability to accommodate people that have not, they're coming back from down south, or, they've received their vaccine, their first vaccine from one of the pilot sites, so giving them an opportunity.
So far in Clay County, more than 36% of people have received 1 dose of the vaccine. 26% are fully vaccinated. That number jumps up to 73% for people 65 and older. As Minnesota continues to ramp up vaccination distribution, Governor Tim Walz signed an executive order today to extend the peacetime emergency in Minnesota. That peacetime emergency allows the state to access critical resources to respond to the pandemic, including processes to distribute the vaccine. 46 other states remain in a state of emergency. The executive order was unanimously approved by the Executive Council. Ndsu is partnering with Sanford to hold its second COVID vaccine clinic on campus today until 5 p.m. at the Sanford Health Athletic Complex. It's open to all NDSU students, faculty, and staff. Originally, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was scheduled, but with the pause on that vaccine, they're now offering the Pfizer shots. The second dose is expected to be offered on May 6th. Fargo Cass Public Health is also holding a vaccine clinic today for anyone 16 and older. It runs until 7 o'clock tonight at the former Gordemans building. Walk-ins are welcome, but appointments are still recommended. You can find more information right on our website, valleynewslive.com. Woodrow Wilson High School in Fargo will now be called Dakota High School. Here's a look at their new logo. It features the state bird, a western meadowlark. The school says it consulted the district's Indian education program and learned the meadowlark is a symbol of friendship and loyalty. The wheat strands on the logo also hold significance in Dakota culture as symbols of abundance, prosperity, and fruitfulness. The district renamed the school following community input and learning more of Wilson's history of racial commons and policies. The new name will go in place for the next school year. The Queen returned to her royal duties today while preparations are underway for Prince Philip's funeral. We'll have more on that coming up.
And aside from just a few lingering flurries hanging out in the air, things are really quieting down tonight. And that includes our wind as well. You can see the camera shaking a bit. We will see a decrease in wind and temperatures falling as well. Could be a chilly night ahead across the entire valley. We'll have your hour-by-hour forecast and what to expect for temperatures tonight and tomorrow coming up right after this.